Hey, this is a question from my friend Daniel. I know a few things about caviar. I know it's expensive. I know it comes from fish eggs. And I know that you're supposed to feel like really important when you eat it. But what I don't understand is why it's so good. Why do people like it? What's so special about it? Am I missing something?
As per a request from my good friend Veronica Belmont, today's WTF will be all about the expensive spherical delicacy that is caviar. Today's sponsor is Urban Oyster Tours, and you can check them out online at urbanoyster.com. Urban Oyster offers tours of New York City that are anything but ordinary. They go to great extents and reaches to find the most interesting places that you can visit in New York City, whether it's obscure little breweries in Brooklyn or architectural tours of green buildings in the Navy Yard. Their tours are unique and they're always very exciting. Check them out online at urbanoyster.com, and next time you're in New York City, get out of Times Square and see what the city's really about with Urban Oyster. Alright, so caviar. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have never even heard of caviar before, so first, Caviar 101. So caviar is a type of roe. Roe are the eggs from fish. To be true caviar, however, you have to be eating the roe from the sturgeon fish, specifically from the Caspian or the Black Seas. However, in certain countries, roe from salmon, steelhead, trout, or cuttlefish might be labeled as caviar, however not in the United States. If you want to label a fish that is not sturgeon from Azerbaijan or Turkey in the Caspian or Black Seas, you cannot call it caviar. You can call it American caviar or caviar substitute, but it cannot bear the official title of caviar. True caviar can come from 4 types of sturgeon: the beluga, osetra, sterlet, or sevruga. And of those 4, the most expensive type of fish roe or caviar is from the beluga fish that can come in at a whopping $400 per ounce. And I know what you're asking. Why is it so expensive? Well, it really comes down to an issue of supply and demand. On the topic of supply, there's only a limited amount of sturgeon still left in the Black and Caspian Seas. So because there's much less there, the cost of them goes much further up. Also, when the egg and roe is harvested, it actually kills the fish. They have to capture the fish and open up the fish's belly, which is where the eggs live, and they have to do that very delicately. That process reduces the population of fish, so they become more of a delicacy. And on topic of demand, why do people want it? Well, primarily taste. People have grown really accustomed to and really enjoy the salty, briny taste that different types of roe can have, and also the smooth texture. It's grown to be a delicacy over time because it is a hard thing to actually harvest. It's like iPad 2s. Interestingly enough, fish roe in the United States has not always been a very expensive thing, and you can get some fish roe from the United States even now that's pretty cheap. But historically, when people were settling in New York, they found out that the sturgeon fish was the most abundant fish on the coast of New York City and in the Hudson River. So they were harvesting it and eating it all the time. In fact, during the gold rush, people were packing tins of sturgeon roe and eating it while they were looking for gold. And you thought that all they were eating was beef jerky. In fact, there was a time in New York City where for 5 cents you could get a platter of the best domestic caviar we could offer at that time. In fact, it was so cheap that bars historically were putting it out in place of peanuts because the salty nature made people want to drink. Another fun fact, when you are eating caviar, you need to be eating it with a bone, tortoise, or mother of pearl or wooden spoon. You must not use any sort of metallic spoon because that metallic spoon is going to impart a metallic taste on the teeny little precious granules of fish roe. I recently went out to the grocery store and I bought an ounce of caviar. I found an American black sturgeon, and that came in at around $40 for an ounce, so it's still pretty expensive. It's delicious. All fish roe is not that expensive. You can go and get fish roe for much cheaper, but be warned that this stuff that I bought is not crazy salty. Sometimes the cheaper stuff is fermented differently or it's laden with salt, and it's a much different taste. Here's a simple preparation for caviar. A traditional way of serving caviar as an appetizer is to sort of lay out a platter and allow people to serve the caviar for themselves. Traditionally, you'll chop up some chives, dice up some red onion, Mash up some egg white that's been hard boiled, as well as some egg yolk, and put a dollop of creme fraiche in the middle of the plate. Serve your fish roe on ice, and don't let it be out of the fridge for more than 15 minutes or so. Give people some sort of wooden utensil to serve the fish roe from, and allow people to scoop it up onto teeny toast points and enjoy. So that's a really, really classic preparation and presentation for caviar. If you go out to the grocery store, you don't have to spend $100 or $400 on the really good stuff. What I bought today was about $40 and it was delicious. Don't go for the cheap stuff. I promise you the super cheap stuff is going to leave a horrible taste in your mouth, literally, and you're not going to ever try caviar again because you've been jaded by the crap. Tune in tomorrow for another WTF. If you have something you want me to cover, you can leave it as a video response, or you can send me an email, hello@danieldelaney.com. Be sure to check out today's sponsor, urbanoyster.com, and I will see you on the flip side.